You took it one step further. You actually went to Iceland to shoot a wedding next to the volcano. Where is this idea coming from?
This is a Cinity Gear News video.
Hi guys, I'm Johnny from Cinity, and today with me is Martin. Martin, how are you?
I'm really well, thank you.
Good to see you again. We've been discussing, I think it was a few months back, you are a wedding filmmaker and you really love your job. And of course, how do we know that somebody loves his job? Because when you see the footage, it's simply engaging. The reason for talking again today is very simple. There was this volcanic eruption in Iceland, and we keep seeing an amazing footage from there. People are using drones and whatever. But you took it one step further. You actually went to Iceland to shoot a wedding next to the volcano. Where is this idea coming from?
Well, I've been traveling to Iceland quite a lot, and so since I've heard about the eruption, I knew this is something at least I want to see, because right now with weddings everything got rescheduled and postponed. So I knew at least I want to be there in person and I want to see the lava. I've been to a lot of lava fields before, but I've never seen a fresh lava. And so I thought this is once in a lifetime opportunity. So I started to plan my journey to Iceland. And then I thought it would be maybe really nice to actually shoot something more than just the drones by the new volcano. So that's, I got in touch with the local agency. I'm working with these wedding planners quite a lot. And I asked them guys, maybe let's do a wow renewal or something like that, something that would be real. And they had this idea, we have a couple. We knew they really wanted to get married. So maybe we'll ask them. So they got in touch and this is how it all happened. It was a real wedding with a real officiant. And yeah, it was really nice.
This is simply an amazing story, and I have to say, when I saw the footage, I thought you did very well combining the wedding with the scenery. What gear did you choose in order to go to such a journey?
Yeah, this was this was really complicated because I've had a full bag full of equipment, and I had no idea, if I should, take this lens or that equipment or a tripod, monopod, whatever. So the first day I got to the volcano, I had this really huge backpack full of equipment. And it's quite a complicated hike actually to get to the volcano. Everything is still new. So I was really exhausted after I got there. And what I realized is that just with one lens everything would be much simpler. So again, back to my basics. And for the wedding day itself, I actually just shot everything on one lens, Sigma 18 to 35. And at the time, I've got this new Blackmagic 6K Pro camera. So I decided I would try this camera. So everything's been shot just, on these two pieces.
So you actually tried the new Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera 6K Pro during the wedding?
Yes. And of course, I was really worried because the camera obviously is not weather sealed. So I was a bit worried, so that's why also I got a backup camera in my backpack. But actually, everything went really well. There was no problem with the camera itself. And I think also the new battery helped a lot, because before that I was shooting a lot with the previous 4K model, and it's been burning batteries. In Iceland, I had to change battery every 20 minutes or so. And now it was working, everything was much better and safer for me. Okay,
we will touch the camera itself in a second, because it's simply interesting for me. In a way, you went for the, let's call it, a bit of an unknown. But beside the camera itself and the lens that you said, the Sigma lens, I saw some drone shots. What drone did you use here?
Yeah, I've got my trusty DJI Mavic Pro 2. I started flying it, I think the first day I've been to the volcano, I was really scared because, once you will start flying over, you have no idea, how warm it is or if something could happen. I was also recording my iPhone screen so that, in case something will happen, I will still have at least some footage to use. And then I was, flying more close and more close. So in the end also, I think you've seen already a lot of pictures like that, but it got also melted a bit at the bottom of the drone.
Yeah, it sounds very challenging. So back to the camera itself, because obviously you had to take with you a sufficient amount of cards or SSDs and of course batteries. How did you do it in the field itself? Did you really back up stuff? First of all, let's start differently. Were you by yourself or you had some assistant with you?
Like, there's been my wife with me traveling.
Best assistant ever. Best assistant ever.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But actually, like when we are shooting weddings, she's also like she's my second shooter quite a lot of times. So she knows how to, shoot. But this was all new, and we've been to the volcano place, and it's a really long hike. And especially the day before the wedding, it's been like super windy, like 25 meters per second, and super cold, super freezing. And it was really, really exhausting. And for the wedding day itself, she decided to stay in the hotel. So it's been just me. But also for me, it was really nice because I know when I'm just alone, there's no one else, and I should really try my best. I just had a lot of batteries, backup body, and that was it. And it really worked.
Okay, so actually, obviously you didn't charge anything on location, and obviously you did not copy or you did not made any backups during that day.
No. How I usually work is that I change battery every now and then, and also, of course, I do have a few SSDs, and I switch to new drive after every important stuff will happen. So, and it's I think 2 or 3 hours hike to get to the eruption place, and not an easy hike. So, having a MacBook or backupping at the location, that's not an option.
And then when you were there, were you working mostly handheld or you really tried different variations? Because every little piece of equipment you take with you, it's extra weight.
Yeah, of course. And that's what happened the days before the wedding. I got too much equipment with me, and I was paralyzed by the options. And I had got this super telephoto lens and that lens, and I had no idea. I was still thinking which lens should I actually use. So that's why for the wedding day itself, I decided I will keep things really simple, and that's why I got only this one lens. And I decided to shoot everything handheld. I also got my monopod with me, but actually I've been using the monopod just to hike to the eruption place because also my knees and my muscles were super exhausted, so I just used to help me to get there. What really helped was the EVF, the new EVF on the camera, and I've bought this. I can show you actually. I've bought this eye cushion from Blue Star, and this is so I can have another point of contact with my body, and then shooting handheld was quite easy. And also this strap, so I got my camera on my body all the time. And when you're not shooting with EVF, you can have the camera like this, and you have more stability also because of the strap.
Very happy to hear this because I've been preaching to go back and work with an EVF for I don't know how many years. Some will call me old school. Maybe some old school will understand what I'm talking about because it's simply another way to secure your camera, have another contact point to the body, and of course exposure and everything and focusing is much easier like this. But anyway, if you have to summarize how the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera 6K Pro performed in the field, and of course how the DJI Mavic 2, were they fine or any small complaints?
I would say no complaints at all. I think we are so spoiled with the new technology. I've started doing the business 10 years ago, and everything was much more complicated. Now you have almost these infinite options and great cameras, great image. So no complaints at all. I think what I was a bit worried about was working with the new camera and not having, backup options of recording to 2 media slots, or, it's not weather sealed camera. But I knew from using Pocket 4K before that it worked even in rain and stuff. So I just got my backup body ready for shooting. It was also ready with the lens, battery, everything. So if something will go wrong, I knew I could just switch to another body.
I'm sure some of the guys would love to know when you worked with the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K Pro camera, what resolution did you actually use? Was it the full 6K? And did you shoot RAW or not?
Yeah, of course, I'm using the full potential of the camera. I don't see why I shouldn't be, shooting 6K when you have a chance to shoot 6K. So I was shooting in 6K, and I was shooting in the B-RAW Q3. That's the variable RAW, and this is the new option. Previously, I was shooting with Q5, and this camera has also this Q3. It's a bit better, and it's still not so huge files as with the Q0. That's the best quality you can get.
So now that you're back at home, sitting in a nice warm place, and you have to think backward, what were actually the greatest challenges during this journey? Even to get to Iceland now, I think in this pandemic time, it's not so easy.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say like the biggest challenge was actually to get to Iceland because, now during the COVID, we're still in the pandemic and there are not so many air traffic flying to Iceland. We had to do a PCR test before, then upon arrival to Iceland. Then we had to quarantine for 5 days in the hotel, so you're not allowed to leave the room for 5 days. And then another PCR test. So yeah, quite challenging. But at the same time, I knew like this is actually a chance to do something like even more special. And I'm really glad that we shot the wedding for locals. So the grooms, the guys are from Iceland. So I think like this is how it was supposed to be. Another like big challenge I'd say was the weather itself. It wasn't that cold. It was like -6, -7 sometimes. But the biggest problem was the super strong wind. For instance, like I've got my bottle full of water and it was frozen completely. And I had no idea it was this cold, but because of the wind, it makes everything like much colder. And I also remember like I was holding my camera and my gloves were a bit wet. Then I wanted to do another shot, and I realized that the glove was frozen to the lens itself. I had to like really like push it like from the lens.
Sounds challenging, but actually exciting. And after hearing you, if I want to go tomorrow to any, let's say a hostile environment, and I do regard this place, of course, as hostile, any tips that you have for me or anybody who is watching this interview and say, guys, please do this or absolutely don't do that from your experience?
I'd say like you should be ready actually like to just give up at some point. For instance, that was also our case because it's touristic volcano and like a lot of people has been there already. But at the same time, you never know, for instance, if the wind is going to change its direction, the place will need to be evacuated like immediately. So we were ready actually like just to cancel the wedding and hike back. So it's not an easy. And also I think when you're shooting in like a bit complicated environment, you also should simplify your style and maybe your equipment, because when we got to the place it was snowing really heavily, this kind of like horizontal snow, and I tried to change the lens once and actually just there's been a lot of snow just on the sensor, so that's why then I decided like I'm not gonna even like change the lenses. You should just have like your backup, but other than that I think it's even better for you to have very simple setup to work with, and like this is only what I have, and you will find yourself and you will probably like do something even more interesting. And if you have a lot of different options, it's just slowing you, and also there's a bigger chance that something will go wrong, like changing lenses or stuff like that. It's only like making things like more vulnerable, I'd say.
You actually said that you went to the volcano 2 or 3 times before the wedding day. Did you use those times also to take, let's say, kind of B-rolls, something that you have as visuals, and then in the wedding day you obviously concentrated more on the wedding itself?
Yes, like the first day I got there, it was also with the couple, with the grooms and with the wedding planners. and it was so overwhelming for me, you know, seeing everything for the first time. So I think like I've spent maybe an hour, you know, at the first spot you could actually like see the lava, and I spent maybe an hour. And then actually like when we got like closer to the volcano, what happened is that the wind changes and started flowing towards us, and we had to like immediately leave the whole place, and we started to hike back to the base camp. So at least like we knew like this is something that can happen. Then the next day I got there again because I knew like, you know, doing these drones on the wedding day, you know, there's not much time to just fly your drone when you have grooms celebrating somewhere there. So I got there also a day before the wedding itself, and this was the time when I did most of the drones. And it was also really nice because there was almost no one at the place because it was like super windy. And also I think like there were some messages that you shouldn't be, you know, hiking there unless you really know what you're doing. And I used this time to actually like scout for the best place to do the wedding ceremony. And then the wedding day itself, I got, you know, time just to focus on the grooms. So I knew like I don't have to think about, you know, estimation shots of the location itself.
So at no given time you had to say, guys, wait with the keys, I have to fly the drone.
Yeah. But I was still like, because even like in between those days, there's been a new eruption and new volcano during the night. So I also did few shots with the drone on the wedding day, but I also like I was focusing on the grooms a bit more. And I think also it was really everything like on the wedding day, the time's running really fast. And yeah.
Martin, thank you very much for the friendly conversation. As always, it was a pleasure talking to you. And I think this is also the right time to say that you created these masterclasses on how to shoot weddings. And for a specific period of time, you together with us, Cinedy, we are running a special promotion. So anybody that wants to get a bit wiser and learn a little bit more at a reduced price, I think this is the right time to mention that, yeah, we're giving this special coupon or code. They can go to your site, they can enter this, and of course, they can purchase for a reduced price that wedding course. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Johnny.
Guys, thank you very much for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you.